Hello, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil by Mike King with Chris McDonough. Chris, how are you tonight?
Mike, I couldn't be any better. Life is great. How are you?
I'm doing well. We had a great weekend. We spent some time up at the cabin, and it's nice to get back home. We're have faster internet, but we're doing well.
No hunters came up behind you?
Yeah, well, you know what? No, none snuck up on me, but it is still the deer hunt up there. So I kind of hunker down in my cabin, and when the shots go off, I go for cover and then work my way back out. Yeah, it's a beautiful time. I love fall in the mountains, and it's great. We got a wonderful show tonight. I'm so pumped up about it. But before we get to that, we want to welcome everybody that's been here. Thank you so much. There's a couple of really important things we kind of forget each week when we do this, and because it's choir practice, we can loosen up a little bit. We can just chat. We can have a little bit of fun. But we want to remind you all to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, of course, this YouTube channel. All you got to do is look up Profiling Evil, and we hope that you'll be checking us out. What else we got, Chris?
We've had a great week. We had, we've got a lot coming. We've got a lot on the runway ahead of us. I mean, we've got some great guests coming. We've got a great guest tonight.
This will be a good one.
And, we figured, with choir practice, I mean, this is the place and the time where we can interact, with our family here, our PE family, as well as, if you have other folks or friends that, invite them down, have them sit on the couch with us. And, we hope that we bring you a real experience. And we're grateful that you're here, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to have you here. So.
Absolutely. And Chris, if you'd go through the list, maybe we can call out a few of our friends here and welcome them. But folks, on a really serious note, we want to remind you that this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we have posted up down below a list of the shows that we've done on domestic violence. If you remember, we've talked about domestic violence homicide. We've talked with Dr. Jane Moncton Smith, and we also had Dr. Judy Ho, a forensic psychologist, who talked about domestic violence issues. And then, of course, we had Dr. Ramani, who spoke about the narcissistic personality types. All of those were banner shows, and we hope you'll go back. But most importantly, we hope you'll take that link below and share it with every single person you know. Again, this is domestic violence is real, and it's serious, and too many lives are shattered as a result of that. We need to get this messaging out to everyone. So, Chris, who do we have on the list there that we've got showing up tonight? We got 500 people already online, so it's just awesome.
So we had I threw a tweet out today on Buddy. So he had gone in the backyard and stuck his nose in, and it was circumstantial evidence that he was involved in something. And I see a couple of comments over here, just saying hi to everybody. Stacy on the case, Melissa. Who else we have? Nicole Marie, Karen. There he is, right there. Doesn't he look guilty?
He does look guilty. Yeah, that's a problem child right there.
That's a problem child. Circumstantial evidence. There you go. Heidi, 4 sons' mom, Melody, Drury. We are just so grateful for all of you. And like Mike said, if you've got friends or somebody that is in need of help for this, if they're involved in a domestic violence situation. I'm wearing pink in honor of not only cancer survivors, but guys and gals that find themselves in these problems, and it's critical that we address them. And don't forget also, as we go down the road here, Michael, that we opened up a merch store, where folks can go, and we saw somebody the other day representing. There she is.
I loved this one. Helen Girl 55. Awesome.
From Santa Clarita. And you guys, I think they got hit with some fires up there recently. I don't know if that was the exact area, but that's that in itself. But thank you so much. We're really excited that stuff's starting to show up.
Yeah, and I don't know, about a month ago, we posted 4 other pictures of some things that people had sent through. So yeah, we're really thrilled that you're doing that. Nancy Harris, thank you for that kind donation. And just to see people, CJ Sleuth, Teresa Short, Miss Sophia, Rebel Rose, Cheryl. It is just really great to have you all with us. Karen, thank you. Whoa, I'm glad we're your favorite crime show. We're going to give you a favorite Facebook booker tonight, a phenom that you're going to want to dial in and get close to too. But thank you so much for that. And Duty Ron, I actually
Thank you, Ron.
dialed into Ron's show a couple nights ago when I was driving across the Nevada desert, and then we later got on the phone and chatted, and we really appreciate Ron and all he does for us. It's great. And folks, we appreciate when you subscribe, when you hit that button and ring the bell, and especially that you weigh in with your comments. We're going to talk about some of those comments in just a minute, but I also want to say thanks for those of you who have been helping us with memberships on Patreon, PayPal. We cannot express how grateful we are for that. It helps us to continue to roll out what we believe is really good content. And Chris, I don't know, is there anybody else on the list you want to say hi to besides every one of them?
I tell you, everybody, we're just grateful. I mean, it's Soul Speaker. I mean, Penny Sue, Miss Sophie, Red Like Wine again. Hi, Duty Ron, and Duty Ron. I didn't give him a shout out. Sandy Lee, Sharon Lynn. It just keeps going. We appreciate you for coming
Lisa
over.
Marie, Nicole Marie. It's just really awesome to see you all. And again, thanks for your support. Now I want to hit on one topic before we invite our guest in. I think he's going to come in I don't know, maybe another 5 minutes or so. But folks, we had a really long marathon Thursday night, and we want you to know that we paid very close attention to the comments that you made, the concerns that you had. We are so sorry that some of you felt really uncomfortable through that. And we just want you to know that we hope you're doing okay. We hope everybody's well. I personally, Chris, am so appreciative of the mature comments in dealing with things and discussing things. These are tough decisions when we're dealing with these kinds of cases. And we've learned some things along the way. Hopefully you continue to give us a little give and take as we learn this YouTube thing and try to do our job as armchair investigators now as we try to roll out what we see as important. But along the way, we really do appreciate your comments and appreciate those. And we'll continue to read them. So thank you. So Chris, before we bring on our guest, I think he's here now. So let's do it. Let's get right into it and introduce you all. Kristen, thank you. Froscheiser, hey, thank you for being you. We really appreciate it. And I am just so excited about tonight. I want to bring in just 1 second, but I'm going to tee this up with something I want him to talk about when he comes in. When I was 19 years old, I got this wild-haired idea that I was going to ride my bicycle from Philadelphia, where I was living, to Salt Lake City. And the first day I got on the bicycle, I rode from Philadelphia down to Baltimore. And I ended up in a place called Edmondson Village. And if you're from Baltimore, and I suspect our guest is shaking his head right now, I didn't know where I was. But I think if I were to pick one of the ugliest, most dangerous places in Baltimore to stop and try to figure out where I was going to sleep in a park, that was the place. And thankfully, these 3 pretty rough-looking kids walked up to me and said, "Dude, you're either..." they used a lot of expletives, but you're either mentally ill or you're in the wrong part of town.
You're Griswold.
And these tough city kids said to me, let's get you on the right road and you go a couple more miles and then you'll be better off. And with that, let's bring in Officer Greg Parker from the Baltimore Police Department. Tell me, Edmondson Village, Greg, what is it?
You're wrong place. not a place that you want to camp out, not a place you want to sleep. And unless you live there, not a place you want to be.
I'll tell you what, and I've been back to Baltimore, I'll bet 100 times since then, working with your police department and all of those around you. And I always drive back to that neighborhood and I think, holy cow, it's so good that God looks down on dumb people once in a while, because it was just not the place to be. No.
Even myself, man, when I was in the academy, I knew nothing about the Baltimore City. I knew nothing about it. And I was driving, and what they would do is, this is just a quick story. There'd be people who would have these cars, and what they would do is they would ram the back of your car, and then one would get in the front of your car, and they would carjack you. And that happened to me. Man. So somebody bumped into the back of me, and a car drove around me and bumped into the front of me. And I called my supervisor at the time. I'm like, dude, this is kind of weird. I don't know what's going on. And I just kind of drove away, and I was like, hey, I'm at this street. And he's like, you don't want to be there more than 5 more minutes. You need to get out of there. Baltimore City really just don't know. It was crazy. Like, new recruit almost gets carjacked.
That's amazing. Well, Greg, we're going to take a second here, and I forgot one really important thing that I wanted to mention. So just give me 30 seconds here. But folks, we received a bunch of questions in regard to the cases we investigated last week and some other things in death investigations. I was really impressed with a couple of questions by one of our listeners, Glowing Ember. And we actually have a call coming up with Doug. We're going to go through some more of his evidence, talk a little bit more about the case. And we'll come back with a report, maybe a little short video, and we'll try to answer, Glowing Ember, those and the questions that others have in regard to those, in regard to that death investigation. But let's get back to what we're really excited about tonight, and that is having Officer Greg Parker with us tonight. If you have not seen his Facebook page with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, Greg. And by the way, this is just embarrassing for us. The guy walking around with the guns like that on his arm. Greg, you have knocked over the Facebook world when it comes to helping raise that level of humanizing police, which is something that we try to do here on Profiling Evil. And take just a couple minutes, tell everybody about where you were raised, why you chose law enforcement, and what it's like to be a Baltimore City police officer.
I was born in Washington, D.C. I was actually raised in Silver Spring, Maryland for like the later part of my life. I grew up in as you guys know my story, probably read about it. I didn't have a father in my life. I didn't really have that father figure, that thing to just push me to become my own. So in that, I searched into, firefighting and police departments, because it had that structure, that developmental structure to help me be able to achieve that, ability to see and think for myself. Without having that father figure in your home, you lack that ability to be able to define yourself, especially as a young man. So, I chose the police department and the fire department. I volunteered firefighter for a while, and I chose that area of my career just because it helped morph me into be able to see for myself, do for myself. And it brought it really just helped me become who I am today, honestly.
Interesting.
I lacked that father figure in the police department. We're all brothers. We all have that level of maturity with each other. And it's just, it's great, honestly. I don't think I could have chosen a better profession.
You know why God created cops, right?
I'm sure you're going to tell me.
Well, so firefighters have somebody to look up to.
So Greg, who did you pick as a role model as you were coming up to help you outside of your mother and immediate family? Who became those role models to help you model and decide to make the choices you made?
I got a good friend of mine. His name is Antonio Green. He's a sheriff with Alexandria PD, and he was actually, before he became a cop, he was a security guard. And he really, every day, man, he would just motivate me. And this was before I even knew I wanted to become a police officer. I was doing armed security, And every day, man, he would just motivate me and motivated me. And I looked up to him because we kind of came from similar situations, and he was older than me. So to look at him where he was and to where he got to and reference that to my own life, you know, he was my mentor. He was the thing that guided me into being who I am today. So I really owe a lot to him. I mean, there were days where I literally had, I mean, when I say nothing, I mean nothing. You know, I was walking to work. I had holes in my shoes. It was a 3-mile walk one way. So I was walking to work, walking home. And if God forbid it rained that day, you know, my feet would be wet and I'd be walking around with wet socks. And every day he would just keep on going. He'd send me a text, keep on going. It's going to be all right. And he definitely mentored me into who I am today.
That is, you know, your mom and do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. So 6 of us. I fall right in the middle.
They must be so proud of you. And, you know, that takes a lot of inner courage to pull up your bootstraps like that, especially when you're walking with your feet soaking wet. So thanks a lot, man. That's just fantastic.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. I think we all need someone to look up to, you know. That's why I push out these motivational messages and the inspirational messages, because somebody's got to hear it. Somebody needs to hear it.
So
well, go ahead, Chris. Sorry. No, good.
How many kids are grabbing on you right now? I saw the video of the stolen car, man. Tell that story. The one that hit the news. Yeah, run on that. This is good.
That happened in October 2018. Oh man, it's almost 2 years ago now. So I was early in the day. I was patrolling regular patrol, and I see this guy. He's in the black Dodge Challenger you see in the video, and he's selling clothes out of his trunk. Nothing out of the normal. But as I glance over and I look at the clothes he's pulling out of the trunk, it still had the tags on it, the alert sensors. So I'm like, you know, how did you get these out of the store? So I swing back around, and I'm pretty sure he heard my tires. He takes off. So I was like, I didn't even turn my lights and sirens on. I just got the tag. Comes back stolen. So I let it go because he was being a little reckless. Later that day, I was working overtime, and I'm in a completely different part of the city at this point. I see the same car. I was like, no, not this time, buddy. So we got the helicopter up, and I mean, he led us on a ride. We went through like 4 precincts before he crashed into those 5 cars you saw.
Yeah. And then he started backing up too, right?
Started backing up. I'm just like, dude, you could have just went over the curb and you'd been fine. But they're not that smart these days. So he tries to back up, tries to squeeze through, and he just doesn't make it. So he just hops out of the car, and it was on from then.
Yeah, well, it was on for you. He didn't have a chance, man.
No.
Yeah, was he looking over his shoulder, Greg? Was he like what is going on here? Explain that.
I don't know. Did you watch the video? He sheds the jacket. I don't know if he thought the jacket weighed 20 pounds. I was like, dude, what are you doing?
No. Yeah, what did he say? Great. What did he say when you were on him? When you hooked him up? Did he roll and say? Did he say anything like, you know, man, you're faster?
He was honestly cool about it. He just said, all right, you got me.
You got me.
Yeah. All right, you got me.
Yeah. What do you say at that point?
Best kind of guy, man.
What I want to know is, did you do just the gentle push to get him down, or did you actually take him down?
I actually tackled him. It was definitely a tackle.
So you were doing the TJ Hooker all the way then.
I tried.
That's awesome. Hey, folks, we're talking to Officer Greg Parker from the Baltimore Police Department, but you'll best know him as Officer Parker on Facebook. And I believe you're going to be starting some YouTube stuff up, aren't you, Greg?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I just got my YouTube channel rolling.
Oh, good. And Greg is one of the most positive men we have ever met, working in one of the most difficult cities in America. And just, I want to take a minute and say to LM, thank you so much for that kind donation. And also I saw Sarge Leffler's on. Thank you, Sarge. And she shouts out, we love and support you, Officer Greg. So I hope if she lives in your city, you're taking good care of her. Karen Olson, thank you so much. Bless our police officers. And I'll tell you what, we really do pray for our police officers every day. Yeah. Greg, I know Chris and I talk often. We have been retired for a number of years now. Police officers today are facing a different threat than we ever faced. Rarely did we see an automatic weapon in our careers. I personally fired my weapon in the line of duty, and you know that stuff happens, but we started with wheel guns and then moved into Glocks at the end of our careers. So
Sig.
we were used to putting speed loaders in, and times have changed. But we want to talk about how some of that change has happened, but not only from the threat physically, but the threat in cyber and other kinds of ways. And we'll get to that as we kind of talk a little bit more. And we will encourage you all, make sure that you're following Officer Parker on Twitter and hit his Facebook channel. Because if you want to lift every single day, get on there and see some of his quotes. Greg, you knock it out of the park. And
thank you.
Again, thank you, Karen, so much. I don't know, Tyler, do we have something we can show with Greg? We don't have audio on that. Maybe we could come back to that, Greg.
But you've got a YouTube coming up, right? Or you already got it set up, Greg? Let's promote that.
Yeah, I got my YouTube. I just got it set up a few weeks ago. I haven't really dived too much into the whole YouTube thing, but my main thing was Facebook for a while, and then I branched off to Instagram and Twitter. My Instagram's gotten a lot of followers over the past couple months.
Well, I can imagine. I mean, what? Give us the dimensions, man. What is this bad boy right here? What's that number?
On my Instagram, 57.
No. I know. I'm talking about your arms, man.
The muscle.
What's this number right there?
I have no idea.
Oh,
good for you. I'm glad.
Come on, man.
I have no idea.
Don't leave me hanging like that. It's choir practice.
So, Greg, what is choir practice to Greg Parker?
Choir practice.
See, these younger guys, I worry a little bit about you, Greg. So we want you to do some research on the web, and then would you just do a little book report on your Facebook page about law enforcement choir practice, because you're sitting in the middle of choir practice, and you have to be a little older to have known it and had it ingrained in you. But we want to report on that on your Facebook page, all right?
All right, I got you. Give me about a week.
So who's your FTO? Who's your FTO? Let's talk about your FTO.
Who was my FTO?
Yeah. Let's talk about that guy or gal.
I had three. I had a guy named Mertens. He was a good guy. He was a traffic guy.
Okay.
I had an older gentleman.
So you wrote a lot of tickets?
I wrote a lot of traffic tickets. Oh, yeah. A lot of traffic tickets. My other FTO felt he didn't really do much, just answer calls for service, but he showed me a lot of the straightforward policies. Like, this is how it's done. There's no siding from that. And I had another FTO. He was also a traffic guy. So most of my time was spent doing traffic.
Okay.
I got into a little bit of narcotics, but not much.
So what was your spirit talking to you while you were like pushing that car? We used to call it riding pine number 2, because you always had you were always writing reports, right? As a rookie.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean,
yeah.
Don't touch the radio, don't touch the gun, right? And
don't touch the radio, don't touch the gun.
Know where exactly you are at all times, 24/7, 365 out here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
My FTO would stop in the middle of a block and ask me where I was at, and I'm like, dude, I have no clue.
Right, Mike. What else? What else am I missing, Mike?
I don't know. Isn't that the best, Greg? When I loved as an FTO, a field training officer, folks, to have my rookie just about sound asleep as we're driving around, if it was my turn to drive, and then flip off all the lights in the car, throw on the overheads and the siren, and start screaming, "Call for help, where are we?" And you only do it once or twice before you never not know where you are every moment in a city. Is that right?
That is, yeah, absolutely. Even now, man, even if I'm just driving around patrolling, I'm always looking up at the street signs if I don't know exactly where I'm at. I got into a foot chase the other day, and I'm chasing this guy, looking back like, okay, I know where I'm at now. It's ingrained in you, and it needs to be. It's a safety hazard if you don't know where you're at.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all heard those officers that are screaming for help, but they really don't know where they are. And that's probably one of the best lessons you can learn. I didn't mean to cut you off, Chris, and I do want to say to Draw Latina, who says, "Hello, Officer Parker. Did you watch The Wire? I binge watched it, a gripping series." I'm interested to know that, because I never watched a cop show when I was a street cop, and I want to call out also Somewhere Over for your kind donation. Thanks. So did you watch The Wire?
Oh yeah. I watched all episodes at least 4 times.
Oh, you too.
Amazing.
It is a really good show, and it's almost a spitting mirror image of the city. Legit.
That's awesome.
So it's interesting to watch it and then compare it to your everyday work life. And you're like, wow, that was on the wire. All right.
Did you watch cop shows, Chris?
No.
Yeah, I didn't either. That's of course, we had Chips. We had the Mod Squad. So I don't know. Have you ever seen the Mod Squad, Greg? That's some pretty fabulous policing going on in that show. So
no, never saw that.
Sometime what we've talked about doing is bringing in some of those old cop shows and playing little 20-second vignettes and then talking about all the officer safety problems in the show we're watching. What do you think of that?
That'd be awesome.
We should do that all together on a choir. That'd be a lot of fun. So where did your spirit where's your spirit taking you right now in terms of, you're in your career, you're a huge role model to thousands of kids, and adults, right? But I know, I've been watching your stuff and I'm really impressed by who you are as, you're such a noble, spirit, and you're really putting that positive vibe out there for people, and kids are going to they're a magnet to you right now. Where's that going with you internally? What in your career you think? What are you feeling? What direction you want to go?
To be quite honest and quite frank, I think that once I get to where I want to go as far as like the media presence and building that platform to be able to speak to people and bring people together, I think that my career as a law enforcement officer won't be much longer, because I plan to branch off and I do want to retire. I do want to do my 10 years and retire. And then I want to move on to traveling around the world and just speaking to people, bringing people like truth and facts and, motivation and inspiration, because there's a lot of things that go around on the internet today. And you guys see it. I'm sure you guys see it, where they put out these false narratives about police. They push this black versus white or cops versus black. And I don't believe in that, so once my career as a law enforcement officer is done, I really want to move on and just speak around the world, motivate people, bring them factual information, and explain, listen, I got both sides, I can speak to you from both sides because I understand both sides, let me explain this to you. Let me show you the facts and let me show you how this is supposed to be. And that's what I've been using my platform to do. So I hope to just travel the world and speak,
Oh, you're going to be fantastic, Greg. You are working in an era that we haven't seen since the early 60s, as far as civil unrest in our cities. But I think it's even worse because we're seeing our inner cities kind of crumbling around us. And I can't tell for sure if we're seeing a smaller degree of support from administrations and city officials, county officials, state officials in the past. But I want to pull up one of the statements you put up on your or on your Facebook page a couple of days ago, and then I want you to just maybe share some of your thoughts about what it's like policing today in the middle of the Black Lives Matter movement, the unrest that we're seeing in our cities, and you have a unique perspective, not only as a police officer in an inner city, but you have the perspective of being a Black police officer in the inner city. What's that been like for you?
It's a double-edged sword. No matter which side you fall on, it hurts. So it's being a Black police officer, you get the whole, you're a sellout because you work, for the man, you work against, us. And then there's the whole thing against police. So for us, it's a double-edged sword. They don't like us because we're cops, but that we're Black cops, it's double worse, So I've received a lot of hate, a lot of negativity. But since I started my social media thing, my online thing, I've also received an astronomical amount of positivity. Like and my inboxes are just thousands of messages a week of just the positive vibes, and that's what I like. That's what I love. That's what keeps me going. And we all get into the downside, the dumps, and it's that positivity that brings you up and continues the mission. But I definitely have my fair share of negativity, especially when I'm in the uniform.
Yeah.
But it motivates me to keep pushing further and keep going, because the way I look at it is you can't dispute facts. Emotions and opinions don't dispute facts. So as long as I continue to push out factual information and inspirational, content, I don't see how you could realistically go against that, but people will.
Yeah. You have here, it says bail reform was a joke. So was defunding. When are we going to stop ignoring the facts that violent offenders are allowed to repeatedly violently offend? I thought victims mattered more than votes. That's an interesting statement. What do you got going on here? Unpack that.
Absolutely. Well, we have this sort of media agenda going on right now, right? And what it is that all cops are bad. Every time a police officer gets into a police-involved use of force, whether it's a shooting, taser, whatever, what have you, it's always pushed to the masses before the facts are released, right? And then they want to do the reform. And now a lot of these departments have done reform. Have they not? A lot of these departments have done defunding. Have they not? And the crime has soared. We have cities that were once beautiful cities that are now being completely destroyed and brought to its knees. You have business owners who are bringing in millions of funds to the city to keep the city afloat that are now saying, okay, if the police can't protect our property, we're up and leaving now. So that statement stemmed from and I use this quote a lot. This is one of my quotes. It's walking past the elephant in the room to talk about the paint on the wall. And that's walking past the bigger issue to discuss a tiny little issue in the room. And the bigger issue is it's criminality. We have repeat offenders. And I can tell you from experience, I've arrested people, for violent crimes. And I see them on the street the day after. And do you think that these people are going to, go get a job at Walmart, or you think they're just going to up and go? That's not how it always works. These people are going to repeatedly violently offend. In bail reform, they locked up all these people, and then they released these people. Now, some may have rehabilitated, but if you've watched the news, if you looked at any of the statistics, a lot of them reoffended and violently. Some people have lost their lives because of that. So all that, in my opinion, was a joke. The defunding, crime rate soared. Bail reform, people got injured. We have more victims now. So at the end of the day, what did that lead us to? Everybody's mad at each other. We're all divided. Everybody hates one another. The crime rate's out of control. Cities are losing businesses. People are losing businesses. I mean, what did that get us? Like, we look around. Where are we at today in America?
Yeah, no, you're real right there. That's real. Yeah,
I'm saddened by it.
Well, I have a question for you, Mike. If I can ask this question, so how do you think social media has impacted that? Because Mike and I talk all the time about, even in our time, right? We still there was almost like an unwritten rule that you didn't hurt even crooks, right? I mean, you know what we're talking about. Even crooks knew you don't hurt kids, you don't hurt the wife of that other dude or whatever, right? But you just have a respect for each other, and it was almost this unwritten rule on the street. And today it seems like our society is actually reflecting some of the street values, and there are no rules. I mean, what's your take on that?
There's no more rules. The moral compass has completely gone out the window, down the drain. You have kids getting hit. Like you said, there was unspoken rules. There were unwritten rules in the game. If you were in the game and something came your way, you dealt with that. That's just how it was. You put yourself in that situation, you deal with it how it comes to you. Mm-hmm. But the kid didn't get hurt. The little innocent boy or little innocent girl didn't get hurt. The sick didn't get hurt. The elderly didn't get hurt. And most importantly, the innocent didn't get hurt. If your beef was with this guy, your beef is with this guy or this girl. If there's innocence in the way, they've lost their moral compass. I mean, it's free game, and especially now I think a lot of criminals are more emboldened now because everybody's against police. They know they're not stupid. They know. If I do this now, if I get it on YouTube and on video or on Facebook and show the last 15 seconds of it, I'm going to have a lawsuit. I'm going to be free, and that cop's going to be fired.
Yeah. I want to ask you about that, Greg, and I want to shout out to Zuki One, who, again, is just saying what an inspiration you are. And I hope you just caught that last message that popped up from Dorsey Salerno, that your point of view is not only well articulated, just please keep up the good work, because sometimes it can get disappointing. On a personal note, 2 of your police chiefs ago in Baltimore City has gone through a rough process with your last couple of commissioners. But I had the opportunity to come in and meet and strategize over a new kind of thing that was starting up in the city, and that was people setting up police calls so that they could have someone antagonize the officer while others in secure places videotape them to try to create those negative messages. Not speaking for the police department, but just tell us how you're seeing social media used to also create a rougher and tougher environment for policing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that police officers they're a lot more worried about being put on social media, because let's face it, we've seen in the news over the past couple months, you can be right, and if it looks bad, you're wrong. And that's how it is. We've seen cops lose their jobs. We've seen cops, suspended for things that they actually, to us, and by policy, at least their policy was right. But because it gets big on social media, and people know that if we catch this cop losing his temper, if we catch the last part of this use of force, even if we catch the whole thing and we show just that last 15-second clip where it looks really, really bad, that cop's going to lose his job. That cop's going to get fired. And I'm a police officer. I'll tell you my personal opinion on it. I'm going to go home at the end of the day, just as many other cops should think that way. But it does make me think twice sometimes about, do I really want to go stop this car with suspended tags? What if he runs through this light, crashes, and unfortunately kills somebody? That's on me.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword. Like, it's just, which side are you going to fall on?
Are you seeing officers who are hesitating with stepping up the next level of preparatory force because of the fear of these kinds of things? The need to be prepared and maybe abandoning even officer survival tactics because of the fear of social media?
I'll be honest with you. I haven't seen that. No, I think
good.
A lot. We're well trained in Baltimore. We do our job, but I'll tell you that the social media, what it does affect is the proactiveness about the job. Because when you're proactive, you're more prone to use of forces. You're more prone to that car taking off or getting into that situation where you have 6 or 7 cameras around you and you're trying to apprehend this guy with a knife or with a gun or whatever. So I think the proactive part of it is what's being affected the most. That's why you're seeing the spike in crime. When you have guys out there on the street who are targeting drug dealers, they're targeting violent offenders. Being proactive, that crime rate goes lower because they're in the area. They see the police. They see that the cops just locked up 2 or 3 people on the block. When people stop being proactive, that's when that crime rate starts to jump, because they know, all right, the cops are not in the area today. Well, we got this vendetta to settle across the street. We know the cops aren't going to be here. They're never here anymore. So that's the problem.
That's a solid point, man. I mean, just remind our viewers that it's not necessarily anybody outside of that circle of that neighborhood. Those thugs like that will actually victimize the drug. If you're slinging dope and somebody don't like you slinging that dope, and they're going to try to take you out. So they become the victims. For sure.
It's a revolving door, because
it's a revolving door. Exactly.
You're taking in that perspective, you're taking money out of my pockets now that I want. Right. You're making $10,000 a day on this corner. Well, I'm making $500 on this corner.
Yep. And so you're making a conscious decision. Your heart and your conscience tells you, and you said it just a second ago, that's just how you are. You're actually putting your life on the line for somebody that is actually, who could die for breaking the law, and you're trying to protect them from doing that.
Exactly. But telling that to the outside world is just you've seen my post.
You got a message, man,
every single day, and it's a double-edged sword. No matter which, I keep saying that, no matter which side you fall on, it's going to hurt.
So
go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
No, that's all right. No.
So Greg, we had someone who had been a viewer of this channel for some time, and we Dorsey Salerno, thanks for that donation. But she brought up an interesting point that I don't think we talk about enough, but I want to, rather than have you answer this gun, why do we choose to shoot rather than taser, maybe talk about the escalation of force and when it's appropriate. But as we do that, let's bring up a quote that we heard the other day. I just loved, because when I heard someone say we got to just shoot him in the leg, I mean, every cop cringes when we hear that. Why don't you just address Dorsey's question and this comment that you made, which is great.
Absolutely. What was repeat our question for me?
The question is, why do cops choose to shoot a gun rather than use a taser? And then liken that into the message that you placed up. And Sherry, thank you, Sherry Long, so much for your donation.
All right. So, yeah, we have levels of force, and we appropriate our levels or our response to that force with what we have on our belt, or if it's, nothing's needed on the belt, then it's generally just verbal at that point. So rather than using a taser or a gun, that completely depends on what you're faced with. Okay. If I'm faced with a guy who's got his fist clenched and he's taking a stance like he's going to swing on me, that's a taser right there. That's a taser all day. That's that level where a taser is justified. But if I have that same guy in that same stance and he's got a knife in his hand, the lethality of that now raises to deadly or serious bodily harm. So that's when using a firearm is necessary, because you can tase him and he still may come at you. Tasers are not always effective. You can tase him, he still may come at you with that knife. And God forbid he has a gun in his hand. You tasing him, it's just absolutely not going to work. And if you know anything about tasers, they affect the muscles. So let's say he does have a firearm in his hand and you do elect to use the taser, and his muscles clench up, which causes him to pull the trigger. That's a big problem, because now that officer has to be responsible for that, because the officer, when he chose to tase him, has to be accountable for what that taser causes. And now, for example, if he tases somebody who wants to jump off of a roof and he tases him and he goes and falls off the roof, the officer has to be accountable for that. Same with the firearm. The officer tases him knowing what the taser does to the muscles, and he fires that weapon because he was tased. That's going to fall on the officer, unfortunately. So it's either deadly force or it's not deadly force, and that's just the way the rules are.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy to make that less lethal decision, but people get confused sometimes. Even you brought up a knife, how absolutely dangerous someone with a knife that's 10 feet away even is. That our reaction time cannot protect us fast enough, even with someone with a knife. And that's a really troubling thing often for citizens. And I like the fact that we do have exercises where people can see how quickly an offender could close that 10-foot gap and lethally kill you. And yet their argument would be you shouldn't have done it because he had a knife.
No. I mean, a taser, if somebody's 10 feet away from me with a knife, a taser is just, if you have two officers, okay, one can have a taser, one can have the lethal, but people who aren't cops, haven't gone through any simulation training, haven't spent a day on the street, shoot them in the leg or, tase a person with a knife. We get it all the time, but we understand how lethal a knife can be. Our vests don't protect us from knives. It would go straight through it. So it's not plausible. It's not reasonable to think that I would use a less lethal on somebody who's trying to use lethal force on me. Yeah. So people don't really understand that, but no, it doesn't work that way. And the whole shooting leg thing.
Yeah, go with that. The training is, I've never heard of training to shoot someone in the leg.
No. And I thought it was a joke. Honestly, I thought it was a joke originally. First of all, the leg. Let's start from the beginning. People think that shooting them in the leg is less lethal than shooting them center mass. You have a better chance of surviving a shot to the stomach than you do if one hits your femoral artery. You guys are cops. You get hit in the femoral artery, you got about 45 seconds unless somebody puts a tourniquet on you, and that's about it. But the legs are small. When you're in a situation where you have to use lethal force, it's because things have gotten out of hand and out of control. Your adrenaline's up. You're moving as quick as you can. There's no way to come up to sights, shoot a person who's moving, and accurately hit them in the leg. And God forbid that they have a gun or something, which is going to be majority of the time, that you shoot them in the leg. Well, if you get shot in the leg, I'm still free to use my trigger hand. So that's still a deadly force. You know, the reason we shoot to center mass is because it's a larger target. You know, it's easier to hit and incapacitate very quickly. We, as officers, we have to account for every single round that leaves our chambers. So if we fire at the legs, we are bound to miss. It's a small target. You know, it's going to happen. We have to account for every single one of those bullets that misses. God forbid one of those bullets that misses hits an innocent bystander. You know, so it's public safety as well. You know, not just officer safety, but it's public safety. We have to account for where our rounds go. Center mass, that's the way we're trained to do. The whole legs comment was just completely outrageous and out of this world. And I know it came from people who have no police training, and probably wasn't aware that one of your largest arteries are in your legs. So you get hit in that, you're going to die. Like, the likelihood of you dying is very high.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
that comment, that was baffling to me. I mean, I was dumbfounded by that one.
Yeah, we had another thought in here. Go ahead, Mike.
No, please do.
Oh, we had another thought in here about less lethal, bean bags, rubber bullets. Give our viewers a scenario where that becomes optional in relationship to the escalation of force.
Beanbag, rubber bullets. Yeah. So it's like you have somebody who is, like I said, taking an aggressive stance, wants to physically fight, wants to, come at you, grab you. That's okay. If somebody's throwing punches at you, throwing jabs, okay. If you can't take them hand to hand, you have those options to you. You're not going to let yourself get beat up. So you have the less lethal, you have the taser, you have the beanbag, you have the M9 Fargo, which is just pepper spray or pepper balls. You have those things available to you if your combat skills are not on par with theirs, unfortunately. But you do have those things for you. That's a less lethal situation. Now, if he goes reaching for your gun, okay, that level of force just went to another level.
Tell him why. Tell him why that's so important for our training and your officer safety. What does it mean when a subject grabs your weapon, or they tried to grab your weapon?
Well, that then becomes lethal. That becomes lethal because if they get a hold of your weapon, well, now they're not going to grab your weapon to run away with it. They're going to grab your weapon to generally use it on you and possibly on other people. That is now a deadly force situation. I'm not going to let you grab my gun. That's just not going to happen. Even a taser, and we had this debate. I spoke on it so many times. I put up so many facts. If somebody grabs your taser, a taser on a civilian, yes, is less lethal. But when it's used on an officer who's in possession of a lethal weapon, that taser becomes lethal. Because if he grabs that weapon, he's now a deadly threat. So you get where I'm going. It's the fact that an officer does have a gun on their hip, which makes that taser a lethal weapon against that officer. So
go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I thought you were done. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
Yeah. So that's another example of how less lethal can escalate to a lethal.
Yeah, and how quickly, if that officer is incapacitated and now that suspect is able to get into that officer's vehicle where there is an automatic weapon, and now we've taken that route to another place.
Exactly. People think, and again, officers don't always have to be presented immediately with lethal force in order to use lethal force. That's not always the case. No. If somebody's running away from you, and I've said this many times, somebody's running away from you, it's generally not going to be a lethal situation. But if they're running away from you with a gun to take a tactical advantage to shoot back at you, or they're running away to go shoot at somebody, that's a lethal situation. Regardless if they're running from you to gain a tactical advantage to kill you, or they're running from you to get this person that they're after. That's a lethal situation, and it has to be met with lethal force.
Folks. Yeah, no, folks, we're talking to Officer Greg Parker from the Baltimore City Police Department. And for those of you outside of the U.S., Baltimore is located just a little bit north of Washington, D.C. on the eastern seaboard. It's actually a lovely area in reality. And Greg, we're so appreciative that you're here. There are so many wonderful comments coming in thanking you for your service, and I hope you'll pass it on to the men and women that you serve with there. People like Mary Dethy Delzy. She says we expect a lot from our police officers, And we do. We expect them to be social workers. We expect them to be the last line of defense when everything goes wrong. We expect them to be tenderhearted and kind and forgiving. It is amazing the kinds of things that law enforcement officers are asked to do. And now we're facing an era where people want to defund police. I don't know about Chris, but I never had a moment in my career that we had much opportunity for unobligated patrol time. That's an opportunity to just drive around a neighborhood and look for crime. People were responding even then from call to call to call. Now we're defunding our police departments. We're removing those patrol officers off the street. Greg, what's it like for you? I mean, how many hours are people having to wait just to have a simple call for service on a larceny handled?
Sometimes it's hours. They're getting better with it by sending it over to another unit that can handle that. But sometimes it's a long time. But the whole defunding movement, that's just, like I said, it does nothing. Our crime rate around the big cities have gone up. Defunding has never been the way. But prior to the defunding, like you said, we're running call to call to call. So where are you guys taking the money from? We don't have money as it is to begin with. So all defunding does is just take our resources off the street. It takes needed resources out of your hands, and unfortunately, you can look around, you can see the results. You can see the effects that it has had on communities. You can see the effects that it's had on crime rate. It's simple. It just doesn't work.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just going to answer a question here, Mike. So one of our viewers has a question for Greg about mental health issues. How are you guys dealing with mental health issues on the street in terms of, maybe a subject who's having just a horrible day? Do you guys have programs in place up there in Baltimore?
Yeah, we have quite a few programs. We actually have a whole unit dedicated to that. So when patrol officers come encounter with somebody we can see is in a mental, duress or distress, we call that unit and they come and handle it. They're like specifically trained to deal with that sort of situation.
Yeah. And kind of walk somebody through a scenario like that, because one of the things we were proud of in the Southern California area is we started that program across the country. It was called TIP, and it's called Trauma Intervention Program. And usually it was, somebody would ride along with a patrol officer, and if there was a specific type of problem, that individual would get pulled out and respond to that incident. And if it was a social worker, or sometimes we had psychologists, but back then you could actually take them, though, those individuals that needed help, to a 72-hour commitment. And the hospitals would accept them, and, they'd get the help. You guys don't have that today, though, huh? I mean, those resources have been taken away.
We still have the emergency petition side of it.
Okay.
It's not always granted, but we do have it. But I'll give you a scenario. So like if we get and I think a lot of it is officer, discretion, what the officer can adequately handle. Every person you come into that's in a mental distress situation doesn't always need that unit to respond out. If you can handle it, if you're capable of talking to this person, they're human. Conversation helps, understanding them helps, speaking to them helps. If you can handle that situation, if you can deal with it, if you can get them to a comfortable place to get help, because most of the times they're in a comfortable place, or they're in an erratic place where they can't be calmed down, or they don't want to accept the fact that they're going through this, because to them it's embarrassing, and that's okay. If you can bring them down to that normal level and talk to them and speak to them and get them to be okay, then you can help them and guide them where the resources are. It's only when the situation's kind of escalated where they possibly want to barricade themselves in the house now, and that they want to harm themselves, then you would call out that crisis unit. Mm-hmm. They have a little more resources. They have people who are specifically trained to help them get them out of the house and calm them down. But on your regular day-to-day, we deal with these calls all the time. If you're capable, just talking, being human, they want that. They want someone to talk to. A lot of times, these people, especially during COVID, they're alone. We've had since COVID has happened, people have been in the house. Our call for people in mental distress has definitely gone up since COVID has happened, because everybody's in the house. Everybody's dealing with each other.
So give our viewers a sense of some of the wild calls you've been on dealing with this type of problem in terms of, this is a family show, but give some reality here of what's taking place out there. And is this push to have social workers, go in and solve these crime or problems? I mean, how's that going to settle in and from your perspective?
No, I don't think, if you want to have social workers accompany police officers, sure, by all means. You have a means of protection, and you have a means of de-escalation, if that's what they want to call it these days. That's fine, no problem. But if you want to send a social worker into a situation without an officer, for one, you're putting that social worker's life in grave danger, because when you go into these situations, and I'll give you an example, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, my partners responded to a call in the city where a guy was going through a mental situation. It wasn't the call actually came out from the fire department because they were being bombarded with bottles. Bottles were being thrown at them. Weapons were being thrown at them from the top of the roof. The guy was on the roof. So, officers go in and it ended up being, I can't obviously speak about all the details, but, officers go in and end up being a big use of force. Now, if you send a social worker up there on that roof, I'm pretty sure that this guy's not going to be the one going off the roof. And that's a problem, because you're putting these people's lives in danger. It's really the whole defunding social workers. I don't agree with, unless they're being accompanied by a police officer. It's deadly. It's dangerous. It's not worth it. And I've talked to a lot of social workers. A lot of them have reached out to me because I made a post about it when they originally came up with that idea. And they were like, we honestly don't want to do this. Nobody asked us to. And I was like, yeah, well, I don't think it's a good idea either.
That's amazing.
Crazy.
So Greg, I want to kind of switch gears a little bit, and I want to bring I want to bring a photo up. So if the back office could pull this up, let's talk about Zachariah Thomas and his sweet dad, Vince Hutchinson, a police officer from New Roads Police Department. Take a minute and help people understand who this beautiful boy is and his dad.
That's it's a very sad picture, man. He's a police officer, and his son, I believe his son was killed in a shooting. I posted that a couple of days ago because it had been out for a while, and it was just a really sad situation to see that. And it goes to show that, like, what I was saying earlier, is kids getting involved. That's one of those hard things for me. Like I said, it's a sad situation. He's a police officer, and he lost his kid. He lost his son in a shooting. It's a very
and the thing I want to bring out, Greg, is I saw a beautiful little video of your son saying "Dada" for the first time. Talk a little bit about how law enforcement officers have to deal with the ugliness of the job, and how you try to not personalize that with things going on in your own life.
That's hard. It's hard to not take things home, to not bring things home all the time. Because I do have a kid. I do have a beautiful son. So when you're dealing with people on the street all day, you may have just come from a homicide scene or a suicide scene, and you try to come home and be normal. It's hard to not let that bleed into your home, and to not let that bleed into your emotions and your actions. And me, I'm hard with kids. That's my thing. I don't like to see kids abused. I don't like to see kids hurt. God forbid, I don't like to see kids die. So it's like, for me, that's like a really hard thing. And I got my own kid now, so it's hard for me to normalize those things sometimes. But I go to the gym a lot. I run, I bike. I used to ride motorcycles a lot, and that's how I kind of normalize it. Just get away from it a little bit. You need those moments of downtime to de-stress, and demobilize from the job, because you bring that stuff home with you. And whether we believe it or not, we change. Police officers change, and we never see it. It's always the people on the outside that see it. Our attitudes change. We become a little more dark. It's the nature of the job. It's the nature of the beast.
Well, thank you. And I knew I was going to be kind of sabotaging you there a little bit, just because of what I've watched
he does
with you and your son.
It's all right.
And I hope how much we respect you, and it's been amazing to watch the demographic that listen to this channel love law enforcement, and it's gratifying to see the comments that are streaming in. Thank you. I spoke with an officer a few days ago in Clayton County, Georgia, who did a wonderful thing. And I don't know if you saw that one, but an officer who went to the shooting, to a home of a shooting. Later, the young woman who was shot died, and the mother was in the news talking about how horrible she felt that she couldn't be there to console her daughter as she passed away. And the officer was kind enough to write her a letter and say, I just want you to know that I was there. I was holding your daughter. I was holding her hand and praying with her as she passed away. That's what cops do that people don't get to see. And I don't know if you have any experiences like that you'd like to share.
Nothing to that effect. I actually did read that. That was a very that was a heartwarming story. It's very heart touching right there. I've never done anything quite on that level. But that definitely is a very sad and inspiring story at the same time.
And folks, if you can look up Officer Theo Williams and read that story. What a remarkable officer he is.
Yeah, if I find that story, I'll definitely share it across my platforms as well. But I do remember reading vaguely about it.
So you're on your own first week. You're out of your car, man. You're out. Your FTO's gone. It's on. Game on. Tell us about the first one, baby. Take us down the road.
Car chase in a 357 Magnum.
Go.
Not even kidding.
But was it the 6-inch or the 4-inch?
Big long barrel 357 Magnum.
The Clint Eastwood Magnum.
Yeah, that's not a gun. This is
one in the chamber, ready to go.
That's good because you can actually see how many rounds are live left when you're staring down the barrel of those.
Okay, this is choir practice. Light us up, baby. Light us up.
Tell us about the story.
My first week, you had a tail light out. I was stopping.
You were on it.
Hindsight, it might not be the best idea now, but you had a tail light. I was stopping everything. I was in where was I at? Man, I was in Sector 2. This is kind of like the one of our bad corridors. And I see this Dodge Caravan just swerving through the lanes. I'm like, this is probably gonna be a DUI. Runs the stop sign. I was like, beautiful. Try to stop it. Takes off. And I'm new. So I'm like, chase balls. We don't have to chase. Well, I'm chasing, this girl sideswipes at least 4 cars, turns a corner, parks, turns off all the lights. I had still seen, literally, I could see like her tail light. It was like it was hanging out. I was like, she's not gonna fool me. I get out, I got the lights on, lit up. I got the helicopter overhead. She exits the car, and I got my gun at the low ready because she's reaching in for something. She says I'm reaching in for my ID. So it calms me down just a little bit, and I hear doop. Gun falls off the back seat because she's so drunk she can't hold on to it. Falls off the back seat, hits the ground. At the time, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't know it. So she pulls out her ID from her pocket, and I'm like, I thought she was reaching for ID, but whatever. Like hindsight, I'm thinking about it. Hands me her ID. My partner goes over and looks on the driver board floor. He's like, bro, there's a gun there. I'm like, put her in cuffs.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, that was my first week there. I actually got an Officer of the Month award for that.
Wow, good for you.
Yep.
So basically, I'm going to do a quick impression. Okay, you tell me who I just did. Remember Will Smith in
Will Smith.
Men in Black?
Yep, Men in Black.
Man, you're out.
It took me a little bit, but you brought the pen.
Well, because we all have that. We all had that aha moment. Okay, now tell everybody about the feeling after you realize, man, this was awesome.
Oh man, it's great, but then you come to that realization of like, that could have went bad.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do it again. That could have went bad, but it was fun.
Yep.
I think that they've taken away the fun in police, man. Like you're young, you want to be a cop, you want to do things right, obviously, but there's still fun in the job. You can have safe fun in the job. Me, I'm a runner. I like chasing people. on foot. It's fun to me. That's the perk of being a police officer.
You're all over the world.
This girl or guys breaking the law, and I get to pursue them. That's fun. Detectives have their fun in pursuing criminals, homicides, drugs. That's their fun. Me, I like the immediate, let's get them, And unfortunately, jobs are like that anymore, but I had fun.
Now, I'm gonna rat you out a little bit here.
All right.
You were not always in the shape you're in today, and you made some personal choices that changed your life. Why don't you share that, Greg?
Oh, man. I graduated the academy. I was 214 pounds. Once I hit the street, I went up to 257 pounds. I had training that day. I went on to do my training. I tried to zip my vest, and it was too tight. And I would get out of the car, and my pants, my BDU pants, like my tactical pants, they would ride up because my thighs were too big. So I was like, let me see how much weight I gained. You don't really feel like you gain weight. I said, let me just see how much weight I gained. I stepped on the scale, and I saw 257, and I just almost lost it. From that point on, I was just like, I got to make a change. I got to, stop eating this crappy food. And, when you're police work, you grab what you can, and that's it. For me, it was donuts, sweets, and
donuts in your pockets?
Overstuffed Chipotle bowls.
Oh,
so
look at this.
I ended up losing like 80 pounds in 8 months. 7 or 8 months.
8 months. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
And how long have you maintained now?
Oh, man, that was back in 2017, 18. I would say late 17. It's going on 3 years now.
What's everybody on the street calling you now?
Chase Man.
What's your nickname?
Chase Man. I love
Chase
it.
Man. Yep. Chase Man. That's what they call me.
Love it. Hey, Chase Man, what's up, man? What's up?
Seriously. Like, hey, we saw you on TV, Chase Man. It's great, though.
That is awesome.
It is. It really is.
Awesome.
So I want to bring up, Greg, I want to bring up another quote that you made that I really like, because we have a saying here on Profiling Evil where we always bring up, as we're looking at things, emotion versus fact. We say it's a capital mistake to theorize before you have all the facts, because you spend all of your time twisting the facts to meet your theories. You said it in 2020 in a better way. Why don't you share this one and your thoughts behind that?
Facts change opinions. Opinions don't change facts. I believe that, like, when people are emotionally charged, they're riled up, or they see something that they think is wrong, they like to present their version of what they think happened, and they present it as facts based on what they have, because they're emotionally charged. And this statement means that wait for the facts and then voice your opinion. Your opinion will not change the facts because you feel a certain way about it. Facts change opinions. Well, they're supposed to. In 2020, that hasn't been the case, but they're supposed to change opinions once they're presented to you. I say in the instance of it's Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you guys watched that video. It was an officer-involved shooting where suspect comes out of the house with a knife. The officer even takes a step back and then tries to gain some cover, gain some distance on him. He turns around, suspect's still chasing him, and he shoots. So they start rioting literally that same night.
Yeah.
I think they destroyed a post office, attacked the police station, and a couple of other local businesses in the area. And nobody waited for the facts to come out. They just assumed that the officer was wrong. And the department put out the video literally later that, maybe 24 hours, put out the video. And the facts were there. No matter how you feel about this situation, no matter what you think about the officer, no matter what you think, no matter what the media told you, white officer kills black guy kills white officer, no matter what the media told you, these are the facts. Your emotions don't change the facts. Your opinions don't change the facts. These are the facts. You can take it how you want it. The facts are supposed to change your opinion on something. But, hey, we're in 2020, so everybody's entitled to their opinion as fact now, right? Yeah. Everybody wants their opinion to be fact now. Everybody can't have facts. So what are some of the great things that are taking place out there?
let's pick it up a little here. What are some of the great things you're seeing in some of the communities in which you're working with? And I mean, those kids, when they see and they're calling you Chase Man, are you guys like, how is your community policing skills ratcheted up a little bit? Because I know you're the kind of guy I would have loved to work next to you, because you get it. And I can just see all these kids running to you on a daily basis saying, "Hey, Chase Man, what's happening today?"
Absolutely,
so walk us through it.
I'm always out there. I posted a video, I think a few months ago. One of the kids, the Chase Man kid, every day, "What's up, Chase Man? What's up, Chase Man?" Every time he would see me, he'd say, "Let's do a foot race. Let's do a foot race." I'm like, "I'm going to Paul. I can't do it right now. Can't do it right now." And one time we were sitting in the neighborhood, a couple of me and my partners. And he's like, "Oh, that's Chase Man right there." He comes out of the house, runs out of the house. All his buddies are with him. He's like, "No, we got to do a foot race now." I'm like, "I got all this gear on. I just ate Chipotle. I can't explain how I'm going to lose on a video." We ended up racing. Me and the little kid. I won, of course. He's the little kid. But
Oh man, yeah. Kid. But you went 2 out of 3 though, didn't you? Go 2 out of 3?
2 out of 3. No, I would have lost.
Nope.
My Chipotle definitely comes out.
Chipotle is a big factor, man.
And you know what? I feel like I have bad luck with Chipotle. Every time I eat Chipotle, I feel like I get into a foot chase right after.
We need Chipotle as a sponsor. So Chipotle, if you're listening, come on to our platform here.
There we go.
Wow,
check this image out. Yeah. Speaking of, so the Chipotle across from the convention center, I know very well. Now that you're mentioning it,
I literally just ate Chipotle 30 minutes ago too.
That's funny. So, hey, congratulations. I feel like I'm looking at myself in that image, and I'm not going to say which one of the two.
Yeah.
But holy cow, thank you. Casey, thank you. And they're pushing that over to Buddy, it looks like, Chris. And Mom Osser, thank you. Casey, thank you. Everybody. We're with Officer Greg Parker. We're going to give you just a minute more. Kiro Okami, thank you. Do you think police have enough training to handle mental health issues, Greg?
I guess it would depend on which department you're talking to and what resources have been allocated to them for training with people that have, mental situations. If you're speaking relative to me or who I work with, yeah, I think we've been trained, but we have a specialized unit to deal with that sort of situation. I think you can always use more training. You can never go wrong with more training, regardless of, what the training is. So I think we always can use more training. Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a good perspective.
So, Greg, tell everybody where your Facebook channel is and how to look you up on Facebook. I always found it just by saying Officer Parker, but.
Yeah, you can just.
It got really hot in here all of a sudden, man. You're lighting up the community here, man. Man, you're gonna melt all the frozen food.
Cheryl, thank you so much.
That's awesome.
So let's put up the @ for Greg and just scroll that across the bottom again. And Greg, yeah, while you're turning a beautiful shade of red inside of that skin, we'll just remind everybody to go to your Facebook page. And Greg, here's our request. Of course, we're trying to grow Profiling Evil too. So I think that you have 300,000 people that watch you. I hope you'll send them over this way and have them come and visit. But most importantly, will you take another couple of questions?
Absolutely. To both.
Yeah.
So let's ask the back office to find a couple of questions, and let's see if we can
and put that picture up there too. Put his picture up there. So that because we're not done. He knows where I'm going.
I'm afraid to read some of these comments.
No.
Chase Man, are those your muscles or is that the T-shirt? We all want that T-shirt if that's the case. And I am so excited that the kids in Baltimore are shouting out Chase Man because when we talk to police chiefs around the country, every one of them are understaffed by at least 10%. It is hard to get cops and hire cops. And I think your influence, Greg, is changing that in Baltimore City. I hope beyond the boundaries of Baltimore City. But those kids that are watching you and yelling out Chase Man are picking that same role model that you picked many years ago when you picked one. Let's just going to play, we're just showing your Facebook page. So
yeah, man, your department's really lucky to have you, buddy.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you're the real deal. And by the way, let's promote your YouTube channel too. So hit us up. So hit everybody up with your YouTube channel because you just set it up, right? A couple of weeks ago, you said.
Yep, my YouTube channel is same name as my Facebook, Officer Parker. All my stuff is my Instagram. Well, my Instagram is officer_Parker.g. But my Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter are all just Officer Parker.
Awesome. And we've got a really great guy, Tyler. We're going to connect you two up after this is all over on this YouTube thing because he's kept Mike and I, going forward here. And of course, look at all the great people that jump in here on YouTube. You're really going to love this. These are really super great people. Very, very great people. So,
thank you, guys.
Mike, what else we got going?
I just hope you'll come back, Greg. I know you've had a long day. I know you have a lot that you're doing. You also have a podcast that you're doing, but we've got to have you back. This channel is about rehumanizing law enforcement, and if anyone's been able to do that tonight, you've been able to do that. We'll end with Karen's question. What is your most terrifying moment as a police officer?
Most terrifying moment. Terrifying. Okay, yeah, I had one moment. It was unfounded, but when the call came out, I actually had called my mother and I told her, like, because I thought it was a legitimate call, and I told her, hey, listen, I'm going to this call, just in case you don't hear from me. And that's the only time I've ever done that in my career so far. And this is during the moment where we had a lot of school shootings going on, and I don't know if you guys remember the Dallas incident. It was a lot of those going around, and we got a call for a school shooting. Multiple people down in the school, shooter still actively shooting and discharging his firearm. So the call was unfounded, but my heart going into that call, that would be it for me. Those are the calls, active shooters. That was probably my scariest moment. Even though the call was unfounded, it was just when that call came out in that environment of all those school shootings, and we were getting officers shot left and right. That was a scary moment for me. Probably the scariest moment I've had in my career.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, we cannot thank you enough, Greg. We hope you'll come back, and we'll talk to you very soon. Until we see you again, we pray that God watches over you and your family and the men and women you serve with in Baltimore, because it is an amazing city and a wonderful place that sometimes is plagued with some heavy-duty crime. And we wish you the very best. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Have a great evening.
I'll definitely be back.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
you're
you.
invited.
All right, guys.
Bring
See you
that
later.
young man you ran in the race too with you.
We might have to set that up.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do it. I'd love to have him.
And make sure tonight that you post on Facebook to go to profilingevil.com and to our YouTube channel.
As soon as we get off, I'll set that up right now.
Check.
Thanks, Greg. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Man, is that a great man or what? Tiffany, thank you. I want to read this one. I love you guys a little more today than before. Well, thank you, because we really appreciate it. And you know what, Tyler, and Skylar, Tim, if we can work out a merch code, we probably ought to figure out how to do that. I think for those that are in our membership, we've been able to push some merch codes out to the membership. So please look at membership, and we want that $135 order of awesome PE stuff. So thank you. And we look forward to meeting all of you at some point. So thank you so much.
What a fabulous young police officer. Thank you, Dre Latina. This uplifts next during this tumultuous time in our nation. Isn't that some wisdom? But guys and gals, this is the quality of officer that is really out on the street today. I mean, he is just a total reflection of the heart and mind and soul of these guys and gals that go into this business and this profession. I mean, while everybody is, you heard him towards the end there talk about his most scariest moment. Isn't that fascinating that he is trained, though, to go to the gunfire, yet he realizes this could be his last moment. And that's what cops, firefighters, nurses, doctors, anybody in public service, in various ways, we all do what we do. And so we're grateful for that comment. It means a lot. It really does. And he is a perfect example of such a good guy who does that kind of stuff. Good guy. Yeah.
So Andy Crayons, thank you for the effort that you put in on our Discord channel. To all of our mods,
yes,
for
definitely.
what you do, thank you so much. I comment over and over again what an amazing thing it is to me, the level. Even when you're critiquing us, you seem to keep it in the right perspective, and we really appreciate it. And we hope that we treat you with dignity and professionalism along the way as well. So Andy's comment, thanks for the hard work and in putting out a better image. Boy, isn't it easy when you have amazing police officers like we heard about tonight. The officer, Theo Williams in Georgia, who holds the hand of a dying person.
Yeah.
This wonderful father, Vince Hutchinson from New Roads Police Department, who has his little 2-year-old son shot in his home, and the child dies, and yet he keeps on serving and doing what he can. He actually knew the offender in the neighborhood. And then, of course, somebody like Officer Parker, who showed us tonight how you can still be in the fray and yet keep a positive outlook on things. Just incredible.
True heroes. This is, these are the guys that these kids look up to. I mean, in their neighborhoods, and these are the kids that will grow up to be that guy. And boy, what a calling in life, to be that role model. And I can see this guy just taking off when he gets out of off the job and just becoming amazing motivational speaker, like you said.
I hope he finds a way to not get off the job and keep being a spokesperson and get out and be able to accomplish all the things he wants. And I think he needs to change his hashtag to Chase Man. I mean, that is fantastic.
What a great story. What the video, if you guys haven't seen it, go look at the video. It's on YouTube. And the suspect vehicle is trying to back up, and Greg's out of the car and he's about ready to approach it. And this guy looks like he's going to back up on him. And, next thing you know it, the suspect's out and taking off and peeling off his jacket. But here comes Chase Man. he's on him.
Awesome.
And I'm like, whoa, man, that's great. That's great.
Hey, Lisa Marie, thank you so much for that donation. And Teresa Short, thanks for joining up.
Oh,
folks.
So I'm going to put you on the spot for a second before you go there.
All right. Well, I was going to say, folks, we're really close to the next little milestone. If you please hit the subscribe button, we'd really appreciate it, because I know there's a batch on here that never quite step over the edge and push subscribe. We really hope you'll do it. It means a lot. And Dee Dee Rossner, thank you so much for that super sticker. All right, Chris, I don't know if you're
no, I didn't know you were going to something, but no, I didn't know you were going to go there, but I'm glad you did. Okay, so I asked him, first week on the job, hit us. Exactly.
So my first week on the job, my first night on the job, I rolled up on. I was with an FTO, field training officer, and the first thing I rolled up on was I came down a place called Sullivan Hollow down the hill. There was a car in the middle of the road. It was probably 2:00 in the morning. and the door to the driver's side was open. The headlights were on. The car was running, and the driver of the vehicle, one of the jailers from our jail, was laying dead, had been executed, shot in the head. That was the first case I ever handled as a police officer, and it ended up being my wife's high school chum, and I never quit thinking about it. In fact, I wrote a blog about that officer and his murder that still to this day has not been solved. That was my first night. Now, I hope you have something more uplifting than that, Chris. What was yours?
Matt, well, I did not expect that, Michael. I apologize for asking that question, but it was a good one. And that's what I get, that's what I'm good at, asking good questions. Okay. So my first week out, my first 2 days, I'm with my FTO, and it's a hot car, and it's a chase. And these guys are just flying. Well, we rolled out of the back lot. At the time it's on Mission Avenue, and you hit up to, Mission and eastbound Mission, just code 3, right? Lights, sirens, cavalry, everybody. Astria overhead, which is the helicopter in San Diego County. And, you can hear that going on over the radio. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. And the FTO looked over at me and he says, "Don't touch anything." As he's driving at Mach 1, right? And I'm like, no, that I'm in this. And he's like, "Don't touch anything." He says, "Feel over to the right, reach up under the dash. Do you feel that button?" I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "If I tell you to push that button, reach back, grab the Remington, and then get out of the car. Do not rack around. Do you understand me?" I said, "Yes." While this guy is driving, he's got the mic hung over his shoulder and talking like this. Car spins out, the cavalry, dust everywhere. Everybody's on him. We're walking back to the car, and he looks back to me, and he said, "Did you put a round in that?" I said, "No, sir." He says, "Good, put it back. Don't say another word." I was like, I love this job.
You know what? That is really interesting because when I was a rookie, they said, "Do not speak unless you're spoken to."
Yeah.
And it took months until you earned the stripes to be able to even be involved in a conversation. Times are much different now, but that's amazing. Annette Thompson, thank you so much for that super sticker. Coming out of Europe, that's awesome. I assume that was Europe. And Tammy M, a new member. Folks, we have had a lot of fun tonight. I want to share something if I can, Chris. I've got next week on worldwide television, there will be an announcement of my new book coming out. It's Profiling Evil, an investigative memoir into the Zion Society cult.
Wow.
And we are so excited because last week, as you all know, I was in LA filming to launch this, and I'm so appreciative. I think next week I can actually say where and why, and next week you'll be able to view, I think, the actual program where we talk about this. But I hope you'll all go to profilingevil.com and start watching there. We'll announce it a few times because obviously I'd love to have you pick up the book, and we're going to do something really special. We're going to put out the first 500 copies I'm going to sign, and we'll make those available. So please, it's a little bit of self-promotion, but it's been a long time in coming, 30 years, in fact, in coming. So I'm really excited about it. And with that, Chris, I'm going to give you the final word.
Oh, the final word. So our society has, I think, come to a place. If you look at the street, there is a broken yellow line in the middle of that street. Okay? We don't ask ourselves sometimes why that line is there. But we actually, over time, kind of recognize that line is there because our legislators put it there. And that's called laws. Okay? Because as two cars are coming to each other, okay, That line separates both of those cars passing each other collectively and safely. I think as we continue to erase that yellow line, that broken yellow line, that those two cars are going to collide. And as they collide, we step back as a society, but we don't have the ability to say who's at fault because we're so busy focusing on a line that doesn't exist anymore. Civility within inside of our society requires that line. And sometimes it's broken, meaning you can pass into the oncoming traffic as long as you get back. Sometimes we pass into that line and it's a very muddy road, but it's necessary sometimes. Justice, mercy, and all of the other qualities that come along with those two words are required. And so we're grateful to each of you who follow us here on Profiling Evil. I love Michael like my brother. We may not always agree, but that's what makes us who we are. We're best of friends, but more importantly, we're better because of you. And we're grateful for you and your support. Sometimes we cross the line, but sometimes it's necessary. But let's not erase it as a society or as a social network. Let's not erase that line. Let's come back sometimes and cross back in so that we can pass each other peacefully and each of us go home safely. Thank you for all that you do for us. Hit that subscribe button and tell your friends. We're pretty good guys. We're pretty good guys.
Thanks, Chris. Folks, thank you. Thursday night, we'll be talking about Sydney Sutherland. Please don't miss it. Good night.
Good night.